Hi, I'm going to show you a part of a track where all the sounds except for the kick, bass and drums are made with this 36 euro Eurorack filter. So here we are with the Behringer searches, and let us just remind what a filter normally does, which is subtractive shaping. Let's just take a saw wave from the DPVCO, which is just outside of the screen here, into the input of this filter. And let's take the output, the bandpass out, and go to our output over here. And let's just check out the bandpass filter sweep. An octave lower. Let's push the resonance. They call the original a liquid filter, if I remember right. So far as with normal filter tasks, but what a filter can also do is that it can self-resonate. Let's just remove the input entirely and push the resonance of the filter. And then we're getting into a feedback loop that creates a sine wave. And this filter becomes a sine wave oscillator. And now to the fun part. Let's grab a modulator. That can be an LFO, can be a function generator, can be another oscillator, another filter. There are various options for different kind of modulators. Let's just use the Behringer waves, which is a little outside of the screen here. And let's check the output and watch it through the Panavision here. So we're getting like a kind of triangle. And now let's put this audio rate waveform from the waves into the frequency input of the searches. And let's drive it in self-resonance again. And then take this. Frequency modulating a sine wave is the basic thing to get us all the fun psytrance sounds, and the ramp up, saw up, usually gets us the bubbly textures, the bubbles, the fruity bubbles, and saw down is the more lasery texture. And our frequency of the filter here is our center frequency of the sine wave, and this attenuator receiving the audio rate saw from the waves decides the modulation depth, how much around the center frequency we are modulating the pitch and creating symmetric segments. And then you can make a thing like waves. You can maybe wave shape the modulator a bit, and then you can get pretty nice tones. So as a fun demonstration and as a patch that I actually kind of used in the demo track, I made this patch where we randomize just every value, and just to show which kind of sounds are possible with a patch like this. And with the second ripples, we can get even further with this. It could be a second surges. I'm going to explain that in a bit. But yeah, no, again, this even a bit more random patch. And we get something like this. Let me add the kick bass and the drums back in. Back where we were, so away from the DPVCO into the input of the surges. So why are we here? Why are we talking about this filter specifically? And first, this is the Behringer version of this filter, which is the Mutable Instruments Ripples, and this is the OG version. I also have the new version on the other side of my rack here, which is outside of the screen, which is this kind of layout. And now this is the Behringer version of them doing it. Mutable Instrument is long out of production. This has always been an open source design, so it's perfect for Behringer to do this kind of lineup. And this filter is 36 euros. Yeah, it's a good filter actually. And one thing that it makes it's such a good filter and why it's so usable for us is this switch, which switches it from an 12 dB slope behavior to a 24 dB slope. I think it's two pole and 4 pole filter. And this is important because the more common filter is, I think, 12 dB slope. And when you're mostly working with low pass filters, it's another story anyways. But for us who want to do like these clean saw bumper sweeps and the squelches and the lasery stuff and the stuff we just did, we need like a clean, sharp, ideally a 24 dB slope bandpass filter. And they are not the most common ones. They're mostly, I think, they are 12 dB, and there's not really a single, simple, cheap 24 dB slope filter. Like, I think this is what did also makes it so popular, besides that it just sounds so good, that it's simple and it's 24 dB, and you can choose the slope with this switch. And this is important when you're going into Eurorack. You might not mind the filter slope, and you end up with like something like a tip-top, how's it called, a Forbidden Planet maybe, or another one that looks cool and maybe has some cool features, but let's just show it what I mean. And we do a simple sweep. This is 24 dB, and now the 12 dB one, it's like a bleed that bleeds out of the edges of the filter that is wider, but we want this really narrow, clean, sharp filter for our kind of stuff, or for any kind of glitchy, cool, liquidy, whatever sharp, hectic, rhythmic, cool kind of stuff. These sharp filters work well, and it's most often the filter type that you want. And I got 3 of these ones because I wanted a stereo filter to filter the VIC, and I almost had the bearing, I think how it's called, the blades, or maybe I get this wrong. It's a clone from the same lineup, from the Mutable Instruments stereo filter, but there we come to exactly this problem, that it's a 12 dB slope. You can put it in serial mode and it adds up to a 24 dB slope, but I really need a stereo filter, so I thought this is 36 euros, that's why we're here, it's so cheap, just get a second one. I use 2 ripples now to stereo filter the VIC or any other stereo source. It's fun, it's cool. They are not exactly the same, even because of the knob tolerances, and even if it was the same PCB, which it doesn't look, it's a bit different, and probably it sounds a bit different, but this is the cool thing I found, like it's not that hard to match the cutoff frequencies and the resonances, but naturally they will not perfectly align, and this is kind of nice because this is another cool stereo effect. Like it's actually pretty cool to do it like this. It's a bit inconvenient, but it's worth it because it's just adds a more dimension to the sound, and it's just in this situation the cheapest option to get the stereo filter. Just even getting, if you had no filter, and getting 2 surges would be probably the cheapest 24 dB stereo filter out there right now. It's an awesome filter, and it just can do this as well, what I showed you. So this is the one. So this was the first video in a series that should answer basic questions when getting started with Eurorack, because I get that question a lot, and I want to have a little series about basic modules, about utilities, about basic stuff that is like with the big B now in the game. Maybe we talk about that later, but let's take it for what it is right now. It makes it pretty easy, pretty cheap to get into it. And these kind of utility mutable modules, and they are open source, so everyone can build them, and I think it's perfect for them to do it. And you can do such a lot with it, and for especially for FM tones, you can get this from a super complex modern oscillator with a lot of functions and stuff, where you pay a lot of money for the special research and engineering and the whole process to make this exist. But for FM and for Psytrance sounds, it's all very old stuff. It's just utilities. It's an arrangement of control about these voltages that are not unique or special or in any way, but it's important to have control about them in the right amount and at the right spot to get all these timbres. But especially FM, it's like often it's like less is more, and in the really fine resolution that we have in the analog world, there's a lot of different flavors there in there, and we want to zoom in there so we can achieve all these different timbres. But that's not talking about wavetable modern stuff. It's really FM like it always has been, and getting nice VCAs and offset and attenuators, and to bring all the voltages in, because it's so important. If say unipolar, bipolar, this range, that range, and bend slightly towards this, and just these super fine differences in basic waveforms. Is it saw up, saw down? Is the saw slightly bent in, slightly exponential? Is it linear? This makes the timbre and the sound, and this you access with utility, with basic stuff, but with nothing that is really crazy in modular world. It's Döpfer that always has been perfect, and it's always has been also affordable and cheap, and Dieter is the grandfather. Like we wouldn't do this without Dieter Döpfer. So Döpfer, Behringer Snow in the game. There's Ladik that I will probably mention. I will mention VGD. Like I will probably getting into DIY, because this is another way of getting this stuff together. Some intelligent dudes sending you a pre-populated PCB, get some parts from China, solder a few parts, it's that easy and it's cheap. So I want to focus this series on getting started with Eurorack, focus on utilities, show how important they are before getting distracted by the most shiny new release, like getting a mimeophone instantly, or a VIC, or some other insert super complex nice FX unit or nice wavetable VCOs. There is some stuff that is like its own voice, and it's basically a synth on its own, and then there are some fun things, but most of the times you will get frustrated with a super complex FX unit like a mimeophone basically, or some other complex delay or whatever, Rainmaker, I don't know. And without all the voltages to control it, to let it do its things, because it's waits for these. Otherwise, it's just too wide ranges, and you can't access these nice sweet spots without having this fine control above all the ranges coming from all inputs, and basically having an attenuator everywhere, and the ability to quantize stuff and to mirror, invert these basic things. And they are pretty, even in the time that I am into it, they became much more accessible. So this will be the topic for the next ones. LFOs, VCAs, envelopes, etc.